waiting. We have Kate Degonia, Major WD, Misopods or Steve-O, Wendy Hickson, 503, Frank the Tank, Datura, Tobias, Ramingo. Let's see, anybody else I missed? Regina as well. Laura Taylor. If I've missed anybody, I apologize. Magnificent Animals. Good, can everybody hear me? I want to make sure everybody hears me. I see Champbara's here as well, Destruction Warehouse. How's the weather? The weather's actually pretty fantastic. It's nice, warm fall weather. I think it got into the mid 80s today, so not hot, but not cold. Okay, good. Well, the microphone is set up correctly then. I'm glad to hear that. So this is obviously a velvet ant. This is Dasymatilla klugii. And I have just returned from a program presentation and to use this velvet ant in the presentation, and so it's in a small acrylic enclosure for the moment, and I'm going to restore it to its normal enclosure in a short time. Velvet ants are really fun. I have 4 currently. I have 2 Dasymatilla vistita, at least I believe that's what they are. 1 Timula species, not sure which genus, and then this Dasymatilla klugii. Really, really love them. Oh, Misopods, you have a house mantis, meaning one that adopted like your windowsill or something like that, or your back door. I love it when they do that. Electric Exotics, welcome. Misopods, you'd roll a natural 1. Meaning you think you might get stung. Look at that. Velvety abdomen there. So I've never been bitten by a velvet ant, and I've never kept pet velvet ants that have stung me, but I was stung by a velvet ant when I was about 10 years old. I did not exercise the proper cautions that one does when one deals with velvet ants, and therefore basically goaded it into stinging me. And I think that was partly out of a morbid fascination, wondering what it would be like, because I'd heard they sting, and it was stridulating at me. I had goaded it into stridulating, and keep in mind I was 10 years old, so I can be partially excused for some of this. And then it stung me because I was bothering it. So Datura. Did any of you, or even you, Russ, ever tasted discarded isopod molt? I don't believe so. Fair question, I guess. I've just never tried that. So Laura Taylor, velvet ants have a very resilient exoskeleton. The way it's put together is very strong, durable, flexible, can withstand being stepped upon to a large extent, much more so than many other insects. So it's, yeah, that's probably what indeed that you saw. So velvet ants, or cow killers, as they are often known in some regions. I see that Kate is referring to that name. Of course, can't kill cows. They do sting. The sting is quite painful, but not particularly dangerous to humans. 3 on the Schmidt Pain Index for Dasymatilla occidentalis, which is comparable in size to Dasymatilla klugii, so I'm guessing their stings might be similar. And I would say they are, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Somebody was asking me a question about velvet ants, and I lost it. Cow killers, yes. That some people call them cow killers. Part of my fascination with velvet ants, I mean, there are many reasons why I'm fascinated with them, but part of it is I want people to know that velvet ants are not something people have to go out of their way to try to damage. They're very, very unlikely to act with aggression. They're not particularly likely to sting you. They're going to use some of their other defenses. First, running. Running doesn't work. They're quite fast, quite alert, and able to notice a potential predator and run quite quickly when they see one. And many species will do that very effectively and just get away. They also will stridulate, making a funny noise as they stridulate portions of their abdomen together, kind of a squeaking, vibrating sort of noise. And then if that doesn't work, they can sting, but the sting is kind of a last resort. They do burrow. They tend to be they will burrow quite a bit. They search for ground nesting wasps and bees, the nests of those ground nesting wasps and bees, because that's where they lay their eggs, because their eggs are going to be parasites or parasitoids of those larvae or pupae of the ground nesting wasp and bees in many cases. That's what they tend to specialize in. So they're quite good at digging. So Tobias, I see a question. Do velvet ants, tarantulas, scorpions, etc. basically all have the same sort of venom, like it will cause a reaction if you're allergic to bees? Venom varies widely among those different taxa that you mentioned. So even among tarantulas, there's a wide variety of venom types and venom reactions. And of course, people react differently to the same venom. Like if I were to be stung by this velvet ant, I might have a very different reaction from my sister or my neighbor, or, you know, so there's that going on. But there's also the fact that there's a lot of variation in venom. So one tarantula species might have a venom that is quite different from another tarantula species. And there's a lot of variation in scorpion venoms, a lot of variation in insect venom. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. I'm going to move this velvet ant. I'm going to put it away in just a minute here. But before, I don't want to leave you staring at nothing. So hold on. I'm going to get something else out. Going to get a vinegaroon out. And we'll look at the vinegaroon for a minute. I see that Wally's here, Supreme Gecko. That's awesome. So Kate, velvet ants they do have a limited ability to climb smooth surfaces and can sometimes climb glass fairly effectively. They're not excellent at it. They're not as good as, like, say, some roaches are, for example, but they're decent at it. They tend to that ability tends to decrease over time, I guess, as they're aging, and perhaps their exoskeleton, their tarsal claws are wearing, or I don't know, that wouldn't help against glass. Maybe the pads that they have on their feet are not quite as functional as they used to be, something like that. So before I go any further, we're going to take a look at this vinegaroon, and I'm going to read some Patreon questions from one of our newest patrons. This is Dante's Python Exotics. So here we go. Dante's Python Exotics has 3 questions. So we're going to hit that, and then I want to talk to you about some events that are coming up. So Dante's Python's Exotics. Can I put springtails in my tortoise enclosure after the isopods are already in there? You can. There's not really anything bad about doing that. Ideally, I like to put springtails into an enclosure before I put isopods, because it helps prep the enclosure for the isopods to some degree. But I feel like there's not anything bad about putting the springtails in your tortoise enclosure if you already have isopods. It just means that the springtails are probably not going to have a lot of issues with that, meaning they will find themselves in a really good home because the isopods have already kind of made it a good place for them. So next question says, being that my substrate is a mix of topsoil and reptibark in the tortoise enclosure, do I still need to buy decaying wood since there's reptibark already there? Well, reptibark is fir bark, which is not necessarily the best thing for isopods, but it shouldn't hurt them. It's used pretty widely in enclosures where isopods are, but I'm saying it's not necessarily the most nutritious, just plain fir bark. So you're not going to maybe get the best nutrition out of it, but it's not going to hurt the isopods typically to have a little bit of fir bark in there. And so I don't think it'd be a problem per se, if that makes sense. But you don't necessarily, I mean, the decaying wood would be appreciated by the isopods, but since you have them in there as a bioactive cleanup crew, they'll probably be okay with the leaf litter that you're having there. That relates to the last question you had. Put 25 canyons in my tortoise enclosure. I added leaf litter. Was that a mistake if I needed them as a cleanup crew? And I would say no, that's probably fine. They will probably eat the leaf litter, but at the same time, it's not going to be, they're opportunistic and they look for different nutrients, and the leaf litter is going to contain a certain nutrient profile, and things like tortoise poop and uneaten tortoise food are going to be different in nutrition or nutrient profile. Let's see if he wants this. I don't know. We'll see what happens. He's usually been pretty hungry lately. So we'll see if he wants to eat. I saw out of the corner of my eye, there was a comment. Someone was saying, can you feed the vinegaroon? We'll give it a shot. We'll give it a shot. This one's been a good eater on crickets, the occasional mealworm or superworm as well. So we'll just kind of watch and see. I'll try to keep the camera focused and see how it does here. Might end up kind of exhuming the worm as it buries itself. So we'll see. I wanted to make some announcements as well, and maybe mods, the mods who are here, and we have quite a few mods here. If you can go to the description of this video as I speak about each one of these events, if you can copy the link that I talked about and I put down in the description, and then we can go from there. I would like it. I'm going to start out because it's the one that's coming up next. I'm going to do this in chronological order. The next event that I'd like to talk about is the Roach Crossing BUGAPALOOZA. That is an auction. For those of you who know who Roach Crossing is, you probably already know about BUGAPALOOZA. If you don't know Roach Crossing and you don't know BUGAPALOOZA, then you need to. So it starts on September 29th, so just 2 days from now. September 29th is Friday, and it's going to be a YouTube live stream. Thank you, Frank the Tank, for putting this in, putting that link in the description there. And then day 2, September 30th, also a YouTube live stream, and day 3, October 1st, Sunday. All 3 days of this are going to be auctions for various arthropods and things like that. Perhaps some other invertebrates as well as arthropods, not sure. But plenty of arthropods, and there's going to be some specific, there's a specific schedule and how it goes. So just to give you a preview, and thank you, Frank the Tank, for putting that link in there again, Roach Crossing. It explains all the rules, it explains the schedule, it explains everything, but I'm going to give you the lowdown, just the basics here, and you can go check out more of that for your own. But and these are all Eastern time, okay? So Roach Crossing BUGAPALOOZA starts at 10 a.m. on Friday Eastern time. From 10 to 12, we'll be auctioning off mantids. From 12 to 4, we'll be auctioning off beetles. And from 4 to 10, they'll be auctioning off millipedes and springtails. And Kyle has an amazing collection. And in quantities big enough that he sells them. Not only that, roachcrossing.com is his full-time gig. He is doing this, and this is how he makes his money, selling all these things. So he has extensive experience doing it, and he has a huge collection. So he is really good at raising all these creatures, and he's been doing it for decades. And if you want to obtain some of those things, that is a great way to check it out. So on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., he's focusing on cockroaches the entire day. So he has so many different species of cockroaches, not just feeders, of course. He has a lot of hobby species. He's been working with pure line hissers. He's been working with so many different things, U.S. natives, various different species of roaches, so many different kinds from around the world. So if you're interested in cockroaches at all, he has that going on for Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. On Sunday, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., he's doing isopods. And he has a lot of isopods. He is the originator of some of the morphs that are very common in the hobby, such as, well, Porcelia scabra dalmatian. he was one of the people who worked with that one. Orange Creams, he developed that line. I'm not sure if he was the first one to do it or not, but he did it. He worked on, he developed Orange Vigor, Armadillo vulgare Orange Vigor. He was the first one to, with J. Fiore, discovered and collected the first specimens of American Land Magic Potion, and Kyle Candelian of Roach Crossing was the one who refined it. So those are just a few. So he's got all kinds of isopods and doing really cool stuff with that. From 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sundays, doing arachnids, miscellaneous creatures, and dry goods. And it's not just an auction, there are giveaways. So if you want to just tune in and listen, it's actually kind of fun just to do that, which I've done before. If you want to tune in and see if you can get in on a giveaway, that'd be great. And if you want to see if you can win an auction, he's got some stuff that you probably haven't seen before, and you should check it out. So Roach Crossing, BUGAPALOOZA, this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The link's in the description. Frank the Tank put it in the chat, and if you can put it in the chat one more time, Frank, that would be awesome. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about with that is, where is that superworm? I kind of lost where it went. I wonder if I should put a Cricut in there and see how that goes. I'm going to try the Cricut, okay? I'm now collecting a Cricut. Okay, we're going to try the Cricut in there and see how it goes. Okay, except if the Cricut hops out, which is what it did. I lost it. What did I do with it? Shoot, lost my Cricut. Well, I'll be back with another Cricut really fast. Okay, and I want to focus on what I'm talking about. So just give me a second so I'm not distracted by capturing crickets. There, we'll put a Cricut in there and see how he does with that. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is the Wasatch Reptile Expo. Those of you who are in Salt Lake City, around Salt Lake City, in Utah, close enough that you can come, I would love to see you there on the 14th of October. I will have a table. I'll be selling some isopods and probably some other things as well. So see how that goes. But I would love to see you there if you have a chance to show up, for those of you who are around. And the third one that I'd like to plug for now is the Clint's Reptiles grand opening down in Springville, Utah. It's about an hour-ish away from Salt Lake City, from the airport. And if you're in Utah, you probably know approximately where it is. I'm really excited to be there at Clint's Reptile Room grand opening. I'll be there for 2 days, Friday and Saturday, 20th and 21st of October. The link is in the description. I saw that Frank the Tank already put it there, and also the Wasatch Reptile Expo. They're in the description, and he also put them in the chat here. So please check those out if you can. It's going to be fun. So this Vinegaroon, Steve-O, still needs a name. I need to pick a name for this guy. I do not have one. And I think Vinny has probably been a little bit overdone. So yeah, Peter at Bugs in Cyberspace, I see Frank the Tank has put a link up there. Peter may still have some of his captive bred Vinegaroons left. When I checked the other day, there were a few more on the website. He's been producing them like once a year. He'll produce some captive bred Vinegaroons, and that would be an awesome place to get them. They're still pretty young, and that would be, there you go. Hey, I kind of like that. Steve could be a great way to do it. Maybe I should call him Steve-O if you don't mind. I think that'd be kind of fun. I don't know if the Vinegaroon is quite ready to eat. What should I think of? I mean, I don't think Steve wants this Cricut right now. I bet I know somebody else who wants it. I think the Vinegaroon is officially Steve-O. Let's go with it. It is a male. So that name is appropriate. Not that it has to be, you know, I could still name it that even though it weren't a male, but it is. So wow, I'm having a hard time today. I'm going to be honest with you. I have a headache today, and I'm not at my best. So it's throwing me off, throwing off my groove. But I think that's been long enough with the vinegaroon. So the reason why there's only one velvet ant in here is because I was doing a presentation, and this is not the velvet ant enclosure. It lives in a 20-gallon long, so not by any stretch of the imagination is this its enclosure, but just there for a program, and I wanted people to be able to see it, and so I just put it in that enclosure so I could do that. Now I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to move that. Oh, sorry, I'm dropping things over here, and let's see. What do we got? There we go. So I don't think he's going to eat right now. I'm going to put him aside, put him away in a minute. Got some blue death feigning beetles in here that I'm going to put away. These come from also from the 20-gallon long where the velvet ant lives. Kind of hard to reach in there, to be honest. Having trouble with it right now. There we go. 2 beetles, one feigned death for a moment. The other one did not particularly care about it. There you go. Oh, theropod hunter got peck chungs. Cool. Touching them a lot can remove their coating temporarily, Ramingo. Uh, it will grow back over the course of, I don't know if grow back's really the best term for it, but it will return. It will be resecreted over the course of several days. So yeah, it's not a big deal if a little bit of it gets removed once in a while, and it will come back. Let's see. Now I need to put this one back in its enclosure too, but for now we can check it out. This is my desert hairy, Hadrurus arizonensis. I have 2 scorpions currently. This Hadrurus, which I've had for a little over 2 years, I guess. And then I also have an Asian forest scorpion, so this is one of them. Well, Chump Bar, I'm glad you're here too. Oh, sorry, Laura. Yeah, 20-gallon long, meaning long aquarium, as opposed to 20-gallon tall. Oh yes, Frank the Tank, thank you. Bugs in cyberspace is a great place to get blue death feigning beetles. Yes. Well, this one lives in a Zoo-Med Creatures. What do they call the ones? It's the bigger one that has approximately the same footprint as a 10-gallon, but a little more shallow than a 10-gallon. That's what this one's going in. Scorpions are not for the faint of heart. Well, yeah, it has to be something you want to do, otherwise it's not probably not worth it. That's for sure. This particular scorpion is not a not a particularly dangerous scorpion. Their venom is quite mild as scorpions go. Both of the scorpions I have are in that camp because I am not supposed to keep anything that is with medically significant venom. So I just have mild venom things. Even velvet ants, though their sting is very painful, it's not particularly dangerous, or not to be regarded as medically significant. But yeah, I don't keep anything with medically significant venom. So there you go. Oh, I gotta watch how I pronounce things, because now there's a 20-gallon something that's not a 20-gallon lawn going on. I don't know if I should say that word. I might get in trouble if I say the word out loud. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know how to say it. Wnoo, WNOO. I did. This is a different filming spot from where I use that lighting. When I film my uh, headshots, for lack of a better term coming to my mind right now, uh, and I'm filming like from the shoulders up or from the waist up. Those shots, I have and I do live stream from there as well. Sometimes that lighting is has been fixed thanks to the generous donations of many of you who put forth the money in a very short period of time. Within, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, we had enough money for me to replace my lights, and I did. So I thank you all for helping me out with that. Kevin, and that's a good point. You have to be, yeah, if you have a scorpion and you're keeping it properly, it's going to be a long shot to get stung as long as you're doing what you need to be doing. So this is known as a toe biter, or it's also known as a giant water bug. There are various names for it. And I love this thing. It is amazing. And I'm going to go put it in its tank. They don't like to be held like that for very long. So it's going back in the tank, and put the lid on the tank, obviously. So that's going to take me a second. Make sure the lid is secure. Good. Okay, we're all set now. It's back. I transport it in moist sphagnum moss. Learned that from Peter at Bugs in Cyberspace. It seems to be a good way to do it. And oh, Destruction Warehouse. Sorry to hear about your scolopendra. That's sad. Oh, so you've held 2 Tarantula Supreme Gecko. That's awesome. Speaking of geckos, this one, as far as bloodlines go, or appearance, it may not win any prizes, but this was our first crested gecko. Well, still is our first crested gecko. And we've had her for about 10 years. And this is Tiki. She has produced 3 viable parthenogenic babies. And she came to the presentation. Oh, Richard, thank you for the super chat. Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I look forward to continuing the discussion we had about the project we were talking about. I won't spill the beans right now, but very much looking forward to that. So thank you again for the super chat. That's awesome. So yeah, she's a big chunky one, and we've had her for, like I said, about 10 years. My wife went to her first Reptile Expo, saw one of these, said, "That's funky looking." Those were her words. The next Reptile Expo, the next year, she touched one and fell in love, and this became her gecko. So Tiki was our first crested gecko. Oh yeah, there's a good link. SupremeGecko.com. You can definitely get some Supreme geckos there. And she's a beauty to me too. She's not like a pinstripe. She's not got some of the markings that people look for these days, but she's still a beauty. And she's still got her tail after so many years. Oh, come to an expo in Michigan, please. I hope to at some point. That would be awesome. Oh, 503 just got a Supreme Gecko Cresty. That is awesome. Thank you, Tobias, for the donation as well. Yeah, I would love to come to Michigan. There's a lot of cool stuff going on over there that I've never been to Michigan. My brother his wife used to live there. That's the closest I can come to claiming anything about Michigan. But I got to get out there sometime. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put Tiki. We found out after we named her Tiki that in least one of the languages spoken in the Philippines, and there are many, but one of the major languages, I can't remember if it was Tagalog or Cebuano, in one of those, I believe it was, I could be wrong about which language it was, there were, the word for small gecko is Tiki, which is kind of awesome. She would probably be a toko, which is the larger gecko, word for large gecko. And here is Tortellini, my daughter's albino Pac-Man frog. He's a beauty. This one is, I think, is it coming on 2 years old? I think it's been 2 years almost. 2 years in October since we got it, so it probably is over 2 years old. And he has a really long name, but Tortellini is part of it. We often call him Tort. And as I was getting ready for the presentation early this morning, it was funny because I had some bins in the living room, and I was like in the other room doing something else, and I had the bins in there. I'd already put him in the bin in this temporary travel enclosure, and my wife came in and she said, "What is making this weird noise in the living room? It's like making this thump noise." And he was just getting used to having been put in this and was jumping around and hitting the side or the top of this container. You know, it doesn't hurt him, but it made a funny noise and she heard it and she was a little concerned about it. And I just explained, "Oh, it's Tort." And she was okay. She just kind of laughed. And let's see. So what sort of lid do you use to keep his humidity up? We've got him in a 10-gallon with, it's got a screen lid, but we put a basically the lid of a 6-quart tub on top of it so that air can flow on both sides, and there's a heat pad on the side, not the bottom, on the side of one side. And so that should create a heat gradient where it's releasing more heat on the left side when you look at the enclosure up through the top, and then that will help pull some air down into the enclosure from the other side. And it seems to work really well. Seems to maintain humidity. The substrate also helps with that. And he has done very well. He sings once in a while. Actually, you know, at night, it's not uncommon to hear him call, and he's fun. And they are a really popular frog. They come in a lot of variations with color, and there are several species in the Ceratophorus genus. And yeah, they basically, if you can keep them warm enough and you give them a proper substrate, they're pretty tough. Pretty tough. When they get to be adults, you only need to feed them like twice a month or so, and they will eat like um, pigs. They're awesome. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Melia sent us a super chat as well. You have such a unique and varied critter collections, like a mini zoo. Yeah, it really is. It really is a mini zoo, and that's kind of the fun thing I like to do about presentations. I bring you know, various creatures that I get to pick. Like, oh, what am I bringing this time? I'm gonna make it a little different than last time. I love it. Oh, your dwarf African codfrogs are singing. I actually accidentally spawned um, dwarf African cod frogs and had tadpoles from it years and years ago, and I wasn't prepared for it, and I lost the tadpoles unfortunately. But it was really cool to see the eggs in the tadpoles. Oh, and Tobias, congratulations on the white tree frog. That's so cool. Okay, so this little guy, he is quite an eater. Once in a while, I'll give him a pinky mouse. He can even actually take a small adult mouse when the snakes don't want it. And I don't feed him that often, but you know, once in a while I do. Cody, hello and welcome, Cody. The pain don't mind. The pain don't mind. What are your thoughts on multiple species terrariums? I have a project where I'll be using multiple species in a 75-gallon tank. It can be tricky. to balance it, but I've done multi-species terrariums. I think it's very possible if you match things very carefully, you do your research, and you think about how things are going to work over time, potentially as populations increase, but it can be done. Mike Fernandez, welcome back. There, Pot Hunter, you have someone considering an axolotl and quails. We do have an axolotl as well. It's been a long time since I've had it on the channel. We've done a couple of videos, axolotl videos, but it's been a while. I do like axolotls quite a bit, and we've had one for years. I don't even know how many years. So this belongs to one of my children. It's not mine per se, but here, I'm going to grab another critter. This one is an invertebrate. Had a vertebrate out just now, but we're going to take a look at the Damondiadema, or Taylor Swift scorpion, if you want to call it that. There it is. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see. And let's see. If you had to consume one of your critters to save all the other ones, which one would taste better? Probably our chickens, I'm guessing. Tastes like chicken. All right, let's see. So you had a debate, Steve-O, whether or not axolotls are neotenic salamanders. They 100%, 100%. There's no question about that. They are ambystoma. They're in the genus Ambystoma, and as such, they are salamanders. They are in the genus of tiger salamanders. So yeah, 100%. You won that. You won that debate. And Cody, I think that's a healthy way to think about it. The multi-species terms are fun, but you should be ready. That's key. You should be monitoring how things are going and be ready to adjust them at any moment. So Laura Taylor, guy at the job site that grows mushrooms, can I use the spent logs and substrate for ice pods? Well, this is what my guess is. My guess is yes, because Bugs in Cyberspace sells Kinshi, which is basically the spent substrate for mushroom growth. And I've used it. Peter has sent me some to use it. And I put it in with ice pods and millipedes. So it's supposed to be really good for certain beetles and things like that. So yes, you probably could. Yeah, the mycelium will, like 503 is saying, will help break down the wood to make it more digestible. And they like the actual fungus in it. My beetles liked it, especially which ones? The diabolical ironclad beetles really like that stuff. Yeah, Steve-O, agreed. Whether or not their own species has nothing to do with neoteny, zero to do with neoteny. So you're right. There's absolutely nothing that prevents a particular species from being neotenic. And you're welcome, Dante. Glad you, hopefully you heard it at the beginning of the stream, my answers, and hopefully that will help. So Laura Taylor, do I need to be concerned about other pests or how to make it safe? Good question. Kind of depends on what it's been exposed to. If it's been grown in a basement and so on, you probably have not so much to worry about. If it's been grown outside or whatever, I don't know the situation, but the Kinshi I got from Bugs in Cyberspace, I just kept it in the fridge, and then when I removed a piece of it, I would mist the piece down to feed it to stuff, and it was fine. It was good. Worked like that. Yep, neoteny and ontogeny are very fascinating. Very true. Oh, got I'm not sure if that's a super chat or super sticker, but Dante sent us one. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, in terms of the very largest taxonomic groups of amphibians, there's maybe not a huge amount of variety, although I would say that within those groups, there's quite a bit of variety. Where's the, oh, that's where the sound's coming from. Okay. It's the frog, the Pac-Man frog. He is moving around in there and squeaking, and I need to put him away in a minute here. Sorry, y'all. Just trying to get the tailless whip scorpion's teleporting a little bit. I sometimes forget that this particular tailless whip scorpion is not quite as tame as my pet Myrtle was. I feel like Myrtle became very habituated to handling and was not as likely to teleport or leap off my hand. This one's still learning. Yes, so Laura Taylor, I would recommend keeping it in the fridge and then just giving it a spritz of purified water before you feed it out. You may even find that it'll start growing a bit. The mycelium will start growing a bit when you do that. And I've seen that, but then the critters, whatever you're feeding it to, will go after it and be excited about it if they're creatures that eat it. And Tarantula Collective, that's awesome. Listening while you're editing photos. Cool. Oh, and I hope you feel better, Steve-O. Okay, I'm going to put this one back. I think I've stressed it out enough. The Dom and Diadema are not extraordinarily fond of handling typically. They're a little bit, how can I say? A little bit skittish. That's the word I'm looking for. Skittish. Okay, I'm going to pull out, let's see, one of the last creatures that I brought to the program. Some of them are not here. Some of them are already put away before the stream. So keep that in mind. We're not going to be a full complement of critters. But here's one. It's stuck in the hide here. I'm sorry. I'm going to get it out of the hide. It's too bad Steve-O missed this one because this is his favorite snake species. I think it's the only snake species he really likes to handle. This is one of my eastern melanistics. This is my least melanistic of the melanistics. In other words, this one has the most white markings. Most of them have white chins, but this one has white labial scales, supralabial scales, and some on the neck, and all the rest of them have fewer of those. This is seriously so mesmerizing for me to hold a melanistic garter snake. Well, to be honest, it's mesmerizing me for you to hold any snake. And I feel like it's trying to focus on the black snake and it's getting confused by my white hands, and we're getting some really weird lighting artifacts there. I apologize for that. I'm not sure what to do about that. Let's see if I can adjust that. There, that looks a little better. Beautiful snake. Can't wait for the babies. And there is a waiting list for the babies for these guys. I will be brumating them this fall and winter. Well, yeah, fall and winter, and then in the spring, hopefully, I'm going to get some babies. Are there any isopods that look similar to Shiro Utsuri? Depends on what you mean. There are plenty of isopods that are kind of Dalmatian. So I think dairy cows look a lot like Shiro Utsuri, but not body shape, but color. So it depends on what you're looking at, I guess. Yeah, I'm really excited to see the babies too. I've never bred melanistics before. I've bred garter snakes a few times, but never melanistics. So that's going to be absolutely fabulous. I'm going to go put this one in its enclosure. I'm going to focus there on my Flatty for a minute, so that you're not looking at nothing, because I always feel bad when you're looking at nothing. Don't mean to do that. So, Datura has a question, little concerned isopod question. One of my gesture cling to the head of a much bigger one, which got quite distressed. Is that poorly placed guarding or aggression? Probably just guarding, mate guarding. and it sounds like that's what's going on. It's not uncommon for a much smaller male isopod to try to make guard a larger female, so that's probably what's going on. And yes, the melanistics are worth more than some other types. Like the garter snakes that I've bred is, you know, from a financial standpoint, I sell my red-sided garter snakes, which are, they're Montana red-sided. They're a different subspecies than the Infernalis from California. They're Parietalis as opposed to Infernalis subspecies wise, and they don't go for as much in the hobby. You can sell a Infernalis typically go for, at least lately, more than $200, probably more like $3, $4, $5 when I've looked them up. And Parietalis go for quite a bit less, like 75 or so. And the melanistics go for, you know, around 300. So that is that's going to be cool to be able to work with a species like that. Or not a species, but to work with that morph of that species, which is kind of a locality and kind of a morph. It's kind of both. Let's see. So yeah, this Flatty, let's see if we can see the molt up here. This molt is kind of hanging up there. Can't really focus on it, but it's been really doing well. I'm actually thinking its abdomen looks big enough. It's been eating a lot lately. It might be up for another molt. So we'll see how that goes. I'm interested to see how big it gets. Different species go to different sizes, and I only know the genus, not the species for this one. Thank you, the Ink Guardian, for subscribing and ringing the bell. I see, oh, WNOO, that is selenite, and I did that on purpose. Selenite, selenops, both references to the moon. The genus is Selenops moon eyes, and selenite is the moon mineral. So that's kind of fun. Ooh, Lorraine K, you found a Steatota under your fridge. Awesome. How's my Steatota doing? I have one. Had it for a long time now. She's doing pretty well. There she is in her web, hanging out. I think it's a Steatota grossa. Had this one for a really long time. They're like bulletproof spiders. Pretty cool. Well, Wally, I wouldn't blame you, because I don't think, except when absolutely necessary to capture it, I probably wouldn't handle a spider like this either, because they are lightning fast. They're crazy fast. They move, they bolt, like teleport bolt, and so I'm really careful when I put water or food in this enclosure. Is there an insect of yours you could describe as sassy? Like, which one for their standards has the most personality? Insect-wise, just talking insect, that might be a velvet ant or one of my desert beetles, possibly. And yeah, velvet ants have definitely a lot of personality. A lot of personality. Mr. and Mrs. Morelia, I can't believe the price of the garter snakes. Yeah, $350 plus for California red-sided. Yeah, and some of the others, for things like if they're carrying a lot of hets and stuff, can even be more. And Dave M, do you still have Armadillidium gestroy zingers? Let's take a look at those, because I do, and I would love to share them with you because they're gorgeous. I just have to, they got moved around on the shelf here, so I just have to figure out where they went. Oh, I think I see them. Just going to take me a second. With that's my zingers right there. Yep. Let's take a look at the zingers. And I say this every time, but I love gestroy. I love their colors. But when I see these, I also love them, even though they're not as colorful. They're just like the monochrome version of it, the black and white version. I still love them. They're amazing. So many people asking about the yellow and black garden orb weaver. Can those be kept over winter? I'm not certain about that. I haven't worked a lot with orb weavers. I hope to soon, actually. I've got a project in the works. So I'm hoping to do that soon. But I don't know. I've heard that not very many of the orb weavers tend to survive much longer than over the winter. How does your gestory group feel about their spider neighbor? I think they're fine with it. I think it's far enough away for them. So the pain don't mind. Got a feeder tank, so a communal feeder tank with darkling beetles and superworms, meaning the darkling beetles that are the adult superworms, hundreds of dubia. That's cool. Oh yes, the green link spider, that's on my list of spiders to keep for sure. Oh, Ramingo, I can just imagine baby tortoises eating figs. That sounds fantastic. And you're welcome, Dave. Thank you for asking. I always love a chance to share gestory with others. They're just so beautiful. Theropod hunter, your fronted triangulatum had a baby boom. That's fantastic. Come for the coffee, stay for the pods. Awesome. Ooh, Lorraine Key, Extatosoma turatum. Those are the phasmids. The what's the common name for them? I know the one you're talking about. It has, is it the prickly? Is it the giant prickly? Is that what they call the common name of Extatosoma turatum? Tiratum. Cool. Hopefully they do well and get through the winter. Australian spiny stick bugs. You know, a cool thing about these black and white version, the zingers are awesome. There's also an all yellow version in Europe. I think Sweden is where it was developed. All yellow. So someone just selectively bred for bigger and bigger yellow markings, and pretty soon the yellow markings covered the whole thing. They look like lemons. They're fantastic. All right. Well, I am just about to call it a day so I can go take something for this headache, but I appreciate everybody joining in. I appreciate the super chats and just the participation. I hope you all check out BUGAPALOOZA this weekend at roachcrossing.com. Check out the link down in the description as well. It'll take you right to the auction details. And keep in mind, I'll be at the Wasatch Reptile Expo this 14th of October, and I'll be at the Clint's Reptile Room grand opening on the 20th and 21st. So, and we'll have a live stream as usual next week, as far as I know. So we will catch you soon. I see that Theropod Hunter had a question about Gestroy Morse. So I think there's a Gestroy high yellow, there's the Gestroy zingers, there's the wild type, and then there's the all yellow. Those are the only ones I know of. There may be others. All right, that's about it. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.